All right. Well, you wanted to know if the radiator, all that work paid off. Well, unfortunately, yeah, you see, this is it's the cylinder that was on the motor and the head. This is my spare. When this when this engine initially, I ran it out of gas at the test day. That video is on the channel here. It blew up. It blew up so hard that it cracked the cylinder. Let me use a pointer. Right down in here. Actually put a crack into this water jacket as well. It's on this side. As you can see, my boy Tony Cantanero, he tried to fix it up as best he could. He actually put a little spray paint on it, and I just kind of took some acetone and wiped it off to get an idea of what's going on here. But I just initially told him when we found a leak, it's got, the reason we're spending the time on it is we had sent it out to get replated. And it's got 250 bucks of work done to it with the plating and stuff. So we had them fix it. We got this back. It was 2 years ago the thing blew up, right? We got it back just before Gingerman. And I looked at the box and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to need no spare parts. This thing's going to run great. It's going to be fine. Radiator's going to work. Everything's going to be all right. We had a problem. I only got 3 laps in practice breaking the engine in. Well below shift point, never revved it more than 12.8, 12.5, 12.8. It was loading up in the corners. You try to run through a corner in too high of a gear and it would just wouldn't go. Back shift, get on the gas, and it would kind of still be loaded up and work its way up to clean it. As soon as it would clean up, I'd grab another gear. Trying to keep the revs down. Going to break the engine in, right? And the third lap, we come off the last corner and it was loaded up. So I did the same thing, off the gas, back shift, get on the gas, and it was loaded up a bit. And just about the point where it should have started to clean up, I felt the motor tighten up. So I grabbed the clutch, shut down. We're coasted up the straightaway, and there's an access hole in the guardrail where they actually literally push the carts out to do the Le Mans start on the front straightaway from the pit lane. So I stopped there, but as I was about to stop, I had the clutch in. I thought I had found neutral, so I went to let the clutch out, and the motor turned over a bit, so I grabbed it. Why do I tell you all this? Because the engine didn't blow up. It broke. There's a nice big size piece of the piston missing there, as you can see. All the aluminum transfer from the piston to the cylinder are here, and 180. We got a bit on this side as well. But I think that might have been a piece that got up and over, or maybe went down into a port and came back up, because I'm digging little pieces out of the bottom end and out of the reed cage. So the reed cage is going to have to come out so we can get the pieces out. But look at this. This is one piece here, which is the majority of that bad boy. There's a couple more pieces. I just picked this one out with a little Yama bond or 3 bond on the end of a Q-tip to pick it up out of there. But why would the skirt of the piston break? Well, it's that Mondo kart junk you bought for 50 bucks. No, I don't. It's a Meteor piston. It's a Meteor brand piston. It's a good piston. What I think happened is this is a 5396 piston. You saw the video from Grattan where we lightly stuck the engine. It was really a cold stick. Four stripes, never froze up the ring, still had good compression. We cleaned the piston up, no transfer to the cylinder, so we ran a hone through the cylinder to try to give it a little bit of room. That was on a 5395 piston. I assumed, because I never checked it, that running the hone through and giving it the extra room with the 9.5 piston would allow me to put a 9.6 piston in it, which is really only 0.5 of a thousandths difference from one size to the next, half a thou. I think what happened here, we all know the biggest part of the piston is the skirt. I think what happened, we were about 142 to 145 maximum of a lap on water temp. Not sure exactly what the water was doing at the time of the breakage, but even if it was 145, that's a maximum number. That's not hot. Exhaust was at 900 degrees. That's not hot. and I was literally babying this thing. I couldn't have gone any easier or any slower than I was going without literally the motor dying. Inside of the head is the crank weights had oil all over them, plenty of fuel. It wasn't lean, no air leak. The head, as you can see, is wet and shiny, although it's got a haze of aluminum dust on it. So it wasn't an issue where it ran lean or it was leaking air. I think what happened was we put a piston in, and we're going to find out exactly for sure, but I think we put a piston in. It was too big for the hole, not enough clearance, and as soon as it started, got to 140 some odd degrees of water, but the skirt being the biggest part, kind of expanded first, and maybe even started to stick, and then maybe I broke this off as I let the clutch out and then grabbed it again, thinking I was in neutral, or it just, when I was feeling the motor tighten up, it was sticking and breaking at the same time. I don't know. But there was no noise, no brr bang, none of that, no noise whatsoever. As you can see, there's no time on this thing. Absolutely nothing going on there. I think we hurt the cylinder. I think the chrome has got a hole in it. It was pretty bad on this corner there below that port. I guess maybe if it's below the ports, we won't have a problem as long as the ring doesn't cross it. But we'll dig that aluminum out of there and get a look at it. This side, not as bad. There's the spot. I think we heard it right there. You see that spot there. So we have this spare, right? It's got some DevCon on it or JB Weld. He's welded it up and ground on it. We're going to need a longer stud for this corner to be able to use this cylinder. I've got another one of these. It's cracked and it needs to be plated. This one's already done. So do we take the gamble? Why not? What do we got to lose at this point? I could put this one on after we get the bottom end cleaned up and make sure there's no debris in the bearings and all that kind of stuff. And just put a used, I'll measure it and we'll put a used piston in it and just go take it to the test day. We're trying to get rent the track out in Grand Rapids and do a test day on either the 20th or 27th of October. So that gives us more than a month. That's where we're at. What I did do is I brought home Dennis Bernier's tools. Thanks, Dennis. So he came to the track and spec'd out our RVXX cylinder, which I thought was getting to be on the large side because it's stock standard Nikasil from the factory Nikasil, and thought for sure that it was too big because when you put your finger on top of the piston, it really had some wiggle to it, So what we did is I took it with me, and Dennis took a brand new piston. I think it was a 9.3 piston, and he measured the biggest part, which was at the skirt, right? He's got a little holder, and I'll bring you all this because I brought the tools home. He's got a holder that holds a digital micrometer. He gets the size, and then he'll lock it in, and you'll see the digital number 5393. Then he'll take his bore gauge and put it in between the points on there, and he'll rock it back and forth, and then he'll zero out the gauge at the top, and then you put it in the cylinder, and what the numbers on the gauge are going to tell you is basically the difference between the 5393 here and the size of the jug in thousands, even tenths of thousands. And he checked that cylinder for me 3 times, and then took notes and came back and told me, he says, I thought for sure 9.7, 9.8 piston because the thing was worn out. And Dennis says, Robert, not only is that cylinder in good shape, it's good and square, straight and round. According to his measurements and he did it 3 times just to be sure. He said he would put a 53.93 piston in that cylinder that I thought was sloppy. And it would give us about 3.1, 3 thou and a tenth. Or a 9.4 piston would be about 2.7 thou. And he personally wouldn't go any tighter than that. I think what we're going to find here is that this cylinder, and I can measure it on the top where there's no aluminum, I think we're going to find that the bottom of a 53.96 piston that measures 53.96, I think we're going to end up with about 1.5 thou of clearance, and that's obviously not enough, which would explain why it took 3 putt-putt laps for this thing to get up enough temperature to shut itself off. Were we bummed out? Yeah, we were absolutely bummed out that we didn't, that all the work that we did here, we never really got to prove out. It's not the lost time. It's not even really the money we spent to go over there and back and pay the fees and all that stuff. It's just we're running out of time here in Michigan. You know, beginning of September, the leaves are going to start changing, falling out the trees. We won't be able to travel anywhere close to use a race event to test. We have Pittsburgh coming at end of this month, and then, of course, the Corvette Museum in November, where it was 32 degrees there. For you across the pond, that's 0. Okay, freezing. Ice cubes are made at 32 degrees F, right? So practice in the morning there last year was done at 32 degrees. Not good. We won't learn anything about water cooling in that weather, and would probably end up breaking some stuff. So that's not even an option for us. Pittsburgh is still even a long distance for us, a long drive, a lot of dough. We have a chance to go to Grattan, our home track, for far less money and have a whole day to do testing with a small group of guys. We just need to get enough guys together to do it. So we got a good list. Of course, I went marching around the racetrack with my pen and paper, getting email addresses, telling folks, hey, you know, especially guys that don't know nothing about it, hey, you can run your go-kart all day long up at Grattan for peanuts compared to what you're paying to be here today, and run off the rest of your tires and gas and oil and all that stuff, and not have it go to waste. So I think we may get enough people to do Grattan. We've got no response, by the way, while we're talking about test days for the MIS thing. So I think it's pretty safe to say, even though I said I'd give it to October 1st, and I will, we're not going to get any. We might get maybe another handful of guys, and that still won't put us but halfway to where we need to be with finances to pay the lease on the track. So Grattan far more feasible for me at this point. To actually get some testing in and be able to get something worked up. Looks like over the winter we'll probably send out that broken cylinder and get it re-chromed, and then of course get all the parts we need for the RVXX that's hidden up above, and get it back in one piece and ready to go. I don't know if we can rely on this glue job on this thing here, Tony. I'm not cutting you down, buddy, but, when they get hot, you never know what happens to that glue, especially, on the outside of the motor like that. So I guess at this point, what we can do is put a longer stud in and bolt it on with a used piston, fill it with water, and just put it on the stand and run it up to 140, 150 degrees of water. And I mean, hot is hot, right? Get it really good and hot, and if it doesn't leak on the stand, then obviously we're ready to either go test at Grattan, or if somebody wants to jump on board, like buddy up with Tony or something, maybe we'll go to Pittsburgh. But we don't need a Pittsburgh. I'd much rather have a test day at Grattan. Unfortunately, it's almost a month after the Pittsburgh race, so it's going to be ambient. It's going to be a lot cooler. So that's it. That's where we're at. That's what happened up there to us. That's why we didn't post any helmet cam, because there wasn't any. That couple laps of practice was pretty exciting. I was following around Wayne Rumsey, the guy I put the swirlies down the side of his cart in the Grattan video from last year, and was following him around and watched him run right off. Way off the track through the dirt, just nuts. And I slowed down and let him come back on in front of me so I could drive by and give him a thumbs up. I saw that. He's lucky I didn't have the camera on, or I'd be playing it for you right now. That's it. We're back to the drawing board with the engine. We'll get those measurements. I'll bring you those measurements. I'm not going to try to hide nothing. If I made a stupid old school air cooled engine mistake by eyeballing the gap in it and thinking, oh heck, that's good enough. Wiggling the top, that good enough, you know. If we end up measuring this thing and it doesn't have any clearance, then it's absolutely positively 1,000 zillion percent my fault, and I'll own up to it. I mean, hey, if I can't, you know, be helpful to teach you guys how to do something, I certainly should be able to teach you how not to do something, right? God bless y'all. Hey, the sun came up again, and maybe it'll come up again tomorrow. Godspeed. We'll put her back together.